Next session is this plenary session, and here the information regarding the test number 4 at EDefense, which is planned for next year, and the details of that test will be shared with the participants. Professor Hayashi, are you with us? Are you making the presentation, or Dr. Sato?
Pretty well.
Hey,
can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Now I'm connected.
Perfect, perfect. You want to say?
Sorry to bother you.
Okay.
So I think Sato-san will be the first presenter.
Okay. I'll stop sharing so that you can share your screen, Dr. Sato. Ms. Yamasaki Honda, do you know if he is able to connect?
I'm going to check. So meanwhile, maybe Dr. Hayashi should start now.
Okay.
Yes. I think so.
Okay.
Be smoother.
Okay. My presentation is first. Sorry, you wait. My name is Kazuhiro Hayashi of Toyohashi University of Technology. Our presentation vibration sensing for building and non-structural element using smartphone and seismic electronic breakers. This is my research background. A quick damage evaluation of buildings and non-structural element in a disaster-stricken area is important to minimize confusion after an earthquake. And vibration data during earthquake is useful for damage evaluation. It is desirable that the sensing device is simple and inexpensive. Therefore, this research targets smartphones and seismic electronic breakers. In order to reproduce the earthquake damage to real wooden house, an experiment using EDefense was conducted at last year. Our research group installed smartphone and seismic electronic breakers to the test specimen wooden houses. Smartphones and reference seismometers were placed on the floor of second story of wooden houses. On the other hand, the seismic breaker with MEMS accelerometer was attached to the inner wall near the ceiling on the first story. This slide shows the acceleration time history of JMA Kobe 100% excitation. Green line is reference seismometer, blue line is smartphone, and red line is a breaker. Smartphone and breaker records approximately match those from the seismometers. These figures show the full spectrum of white noise excitations. At red figure, the specimen is non-damaged. Right figure with damaged by large amplitude shaking. As the specimen is damaged, the peak frequency degree. In both cases, smartphone and breaker spectrum correspond approximately to the reference seismometers. This slide shows the transition of the spectrum peak frequency in white noise excitations. In this case, the maximum story drift angle of wooden house reached around 0.05 radian, when the peak frequency was reduced by a maximum of 71% compared to the original. A similar trend was confirmed from the smartphone and breaker records. Also, in order to reproduce the indoor earthquake damage, an experiment using small size shaking table was conducted at September 2020. I installed multiple smartphone devices to this test. One iPhone and 3 Android devices. My purpose was to investigate the performance of MEMS accelerometer of each smartphone. This table summarizes each smartphone's model, brand, release date, and price. The upper two devices are bit old models, around 5 years ago. The bottom two models are inexpensive models, released in recent years. This figure is the acceleration record of each sensing device at the JMA Kobe NS excitations. Especially with inexpensive smartphones, the sampling frequency was unstable. Therefore, in this case, I had to apply a linear interpolation resampling process to the record data after the test. The record wave shape amplitude of all devices are roughly consistent with the reference accelerometer. This is the Fourier spectrum of each devices. The spectrum are approximately identical in the range of 0.5 to 5 Hz. However, in the low frequency range, under the 0.5 Hz, there is a difference between smartphones and reference accelerometers. This problem is the next issue of this research. Currently, our research team is developing an application for Android device that can be applied to seismic observations of real buildings. When earthquake event occurs, acceleration record file is created and automatically uploaded to the FTP server and various data storage. For example, Amazon Web Service storage, Google Drive, and OneDrive. Of course, it is also possible to send our data to a preset email address. I'm aiming it will be possible to observe earthquakes in actual buildings, extremely easy and low cost. This is my research summary. Smartphone and seismic electronic breaker have the potential to be used to monitor earthquake response in buildings and non-structural elements instead of the general purpose seismometer. The breaker attached to the inner wall near the ceiling of the first story is almost equal to the response acceleration of the floor at the second story. After this slide shows the information of the possible collaborations on the EDefense test number 4, non-structural element test 1. The following is a considerable case of the collaborations with reference to past case. One is your own shaking table test using furniture and fixture made in US. Second is bringing your own sensing devices to Japan's size shaking table test plan. Last is sharing of the experimental data, example, acceleration history and video records of the Japan size test. In first case, the test unit can be rented from NIED, Dr. Sato Sensei's team. The following costs must be paid by the US side. One is the specimen setup and disassembly cost. Second is occupancy cost and operating cost about EDefense shaking table. There is a measurement system setting and operating cost, etc. Of course, the detail of the cost can't be calculated unless the experimental plan is decided. But if the US side wants this plan, please contact Dr. Sato and Hayashi as soon as possible, because it needs to be reflected in the operation plan of EDefense test facility next year. Second case, bringing your own sensing devices. In this case, first choice is install the devices before the shaking table test and remove them after the test. For example, original accelerometer and camera. Another choice is install the devices that consuming time operation over the 30 minutes. For example, 3D image camera. If you want to install an accelerometer and camera type devices, the Japanese side, Dr. Sato Sensei's research team, could not accept your proposal of installing devices because there are some restrictions on the size of the device and the use of collected data, etc. Please contact us for the outline of the measurement plan and information of the sensor devices. On the other hand, in case of install the devices that consuming time operation, you are one paid by additional amount of money, occupancy and operating costs about EDefense test facility. Only 1 or 2 times operations could be possible with such devices. Japan side members discuss on how to cooperate with US proposal. The last case is data sharing. Could you tell us how to utilize the data at the US side? Let us consider whether the research goals overlap with the Japan side, and we need the permission of the company that cooperates with the shaking table test of Japan side plan. Of course, other collaborations could be possible depending on the terms. If you would like to collaborate on the EDefense test number 4, please give us an abstract of the research and work task plan in US teams. Finally is a note. The deadline of the application to use the EDefense test facility on the next year is January 29. We don't have much time left. After submitting the application, the test plan can't be changed significantly. Also, currently, there are the following restrictions at the working in EDefense to prevent coronavirus. US side person wait at the hotel for 2 weeks after entering Japan. And working hour at EDefense test facility are from 8:30 to 18. Night work is not possible. The total number of workers in EDefense are limited to 30. This number includes researchers on the Japan side, because the US side is similar. Cannot rent a private room to store US side equipment in EDefense. Dedicated advisor of US side workers cannot be dispatched from the NIED. This is a summary of Project 4 collaboration. Considering the EDefense usage application deadline, the proposal that needs modification of testing schedule need to be submitted by January 29 in next year. These proposals include additional setting of non-structural component using the developed test bed and measurement plans that need significant time and delay the test plan. Other proposals need to be submitted by March end in next year. This proposal includes the addition of the instrumentation and monitoring devices, etc. All costs need to be covered from the proposal projects in US side. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Hayashi, for very informative presentation.
Thank you very much.
Is Professor Sato going to present after you, or can we open the floor for questions?
Yeah. Firstly, please presentation of Dr. Sato's.
I'm sorry, this is Ritsuko, and Dr. Sato is not available today because of sickness. I don't think it's because of COVID, but because of work. So maybe now you start the questions, and then you may answer the question, and you can introduce the question that you already had this morning, and then you can share your answers to the audience. Is it fine with you?
So yes. So
and also, Dr. Nishitani is trying to reconnect because of his internet environment.
Fluctuating.
And apologies from Japanese side.
No. Thank you very much. I'm very glad Professor Hayashi is here. As a background, there has been a number of, and of course, we wish speedy recovery and full recovery to Dr. Sato. We have been collaborating with in EDefense over the last 2 or 3 years, specifically on the Tokyo Metropolitan Project. And during those meetings, there have been interactions between U.S. researchers and Dr. Sato. Several of those researchers are here today and received the information which will be made available to those interested in studying further collaborations as well. They submitted questions, and I think I recognize Professor Eduardo Miranda, Professor Dimitrios Konstantinis, and Tali Feinstein. Perhaps they would like to ask, I know they've been exchanging emails. Thank you for keeping me in the loop. Do you have additional questions for Professor Hayashi at this time?
Yes.
Just, this is Eduardo Miranda. Just to clarify that the date of the test, I understand that it's still not fully defined. So whenever this date becomes available, we would be very interested to know it.
Test date of the number 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now we few weeks. Yeah. Now Japanese side conducting this test schedule, but not decided. Now plan is end of next year's around, because not decided. Yeah. This information knows Dr. Sato only. Sorry.
Excuse me.
Yes,
this is Akira Nishitani. May I add some words?
Please.
From myself?
Of course.
This experiment is quite different from the previous experiments. Next year experiment planning is focusing on indoor space and non-structural elements, non-structural components. So maybe the framework of US-Japan cooperation should be different from, and in addition, Sato-san is not here today because of his illness or something like that. So Hayashi-san cannot answer by himself. So maybe we need to discuss what kind of answers is appropriate with Sato-san. So Hayashi-san cannot answer at this moment,
Understood.
I suppose.
Would it be then?
Apologies from NIED, and this is Ritsuko. So maybe you write down your questions, and then Dr. Sato will respond to you later. Thank you very much.
Yes, what I was going to suggest to the US participants interested in this collaboration, that as you suggested, maybe preparing questions in advance, but also maybe in the next, I know the holidays are here and the deadline is even not that far, but maybe schedule a separate meeting once Professor Hayashi and Dr. Sato have had a chance to talk, and invite those on the US side interested in collaborating specifically on test number 4 under a separate meeting then. Is that acceptable to NIED and the
Yes,
US?
that's
Eduardo, is that?
That's very good, Julio and Dr. Nishitani. Thank you.
And thank you, Demetrius, too, and Tali. We will then, if you, I'm talking now at the general audience too, we will make the presentation from Professor Hayashi available via Design Safe. We will do that in the next couple of days, so you will have access to it as well. But it would help us in scheduling the meeting if you let me know by email that you would be interested in participating in that meeting. You have my email, is my last name, Ramirez @Purdue.edu. I've responded to you and share the agenda. So please, within the next week or so, let me know so that we can try to schedule a follow-up meeting with Professor Hayashi and Dr. Sato and the researchers interested in doing so. It'd be virtual, so that's one of the advantages of this. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Sorry.
Professor Nishitani, with this then,
Yes.
I don't know if there are any additional items under this plenary session from the US researcher side. Do you have any questions that may not involve Dr. Sato, but related to the project that you would like to share, or you prefer to communicate directly with both Professor Hayashi and Dr. Sato? All right, so
So please contact with Hayashi-san and Sato-san.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Nishitani. So with this then, I think we can conclude the plenary session at this time. Are you in agreement as co-chair? We'll wait to hear from him, but I'm assuming that that's okay. So let's please move to the closing session, which it's given the lateness of the hour, I'm going to try to see if we can. I'm going to stop sharing for now because I would like to invite my co-chair, Dr. Kajiwara, to make some remarks to the participants?
Yes, thank you very much. I would like to begin with my honest respect for all participants and speakers, as well as everyone who made great efforts for conducting today's test observation. In spite of COVID-19 pandemic, we have successfully conducted the test and held this meeting. Thanks to the trust and friendship between the US and the Japanese researchers. In the experiment, innovative ideas from US researchers were incorporated in the test specimen made in Japan. This year, US researchers are not able to visit Japan due to the pandemic. However, researchers in both countries had advanced the preparation of experiment with their endeavor and faculty. There is no doubt that today's successful experiment has motivated both countries' researchers and demonstrated an international milestone that we have jointly promoted seismic engineering research under such a difficult situation. I hope research direction and variable ideas discussed in this meeting, sorry today's Dr. Sato's illness, we will be realized in the next experiment through construction by both sides. Furthermore, I sincerely hope that our research collaboration will continue and develop through the spirit of taking on new challenge and friendship between us. To conclude my speech, let me introduce Dr. Tabata, our newly appointed Deputy Manager of the Hyogo Earthquake Engineering Research Center from this December. He will make a great contribution to our future cooperation. Dr. Tabata, you here?
Oh, yes, I'm here.
May I ask you for your comments on New Year's resolution?
Okay, thank you for your introduction, Dr. Kajiwara. I'm Kento Tabata, Deputy Manager of Earthquake Disaster Mitigation Research Division, as well as Deputy Director General of EDefense. So first of all, I'd like to thank everyone for participating and arrange this meeting. So as you know, the Metropolitan Project will be ended in the fiscal 2021. So now NIED is planning to the next project. So maybe in the almost 15 years ago, the first project was focused on the revealing the failure process. So right now we spread the focus to the non-structural components. So what is the next? So I want to know what is the next, and of course, which is sharing the common idea between the US and the Japan. So in this session, I want to find a good idea for the next Metropolitan project, as well as the kind of collaboration chance between US and Japan, and also maybe I don't know the possibility, but maybe we can spread the relationship. Not by name relationship, but like other countries. So okay. So this is my remarks. Thank you, Professor Kajiwara. That's it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kajiwara and Tabata, for the wisdom and the encouraging words to all the participants. I I'm very excited by your remarks, Dr. Kajiwara, and also the wishes of Dr. Tabata about future collaboration. What is next? I think that is a great topic of discussion that perhaps calls for a separate meeting where we can prepare on both sides and put ideas on the table and then convene still probably.
Yes, Professor, yeah, that's right. Yeah, so this is just my interest. Yeah.
No,
so,
I definitely, I am behind it 100%. And I think
right.
you will find the same from the US community of researchers.
Mm-hmm.
We will do it in a virtual form still, I hope in the near future. But then we will follow up, hopefully next year, with an in-person visit, if possible, to Japan later in the year.
Okay. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you very much. So we will then proceed after this very encouraging final remarks from Dr. Kajiwara and Dr. Tabata to the meeting resolutions. Let me show this slide here, which our proposal for our final resolutions from this meeting. I think that these are for your consideration as participants to this meeting. We've drafted them in collaboration with our Japanese colleagues, but now they're before you as participants for confirmation. The first one is, I think it cannot be argued that the US-Japan collaboration before, during NIED, and now in NHERI has resulted in valuable data sets, improved technologies and design procedures that have contributed to improve the resilience of our communities against earthquakes, as exemplified in this last phase by the Tokyo Metropolitan Resilience Project, a fantastic work. We would like to then propose this as one of the meeting's resolutions. Is there any objection from the participants at this time? Thank you. The second one is the timeline and procedure for proposal submission related to test number 4. We've agreed to convene in the near future a small group meeting, focus group meeting, with the participation of the leaders of the Tokyo Metropolitan Resilience Project test number 4, Dr. Sato and Professor Hayashi, with US researchers interested in collaboration. That meeting will be scheduled perhaps early January or sooner if possible, given the constraints of holidays in the United States. Those interested on the US side will share their email with me so that I can organize that meeting with Dr. Sato and Professor Hayashi. Are there any questions on or objections to the resolution number 2, given that deadlines are fast approaching, as Professor Hayashi shared with us today? With that, then we accept the second resolution. The third one, in line with what Dr. Tabata said, we agreed, we resolved to identify common research interests and potential and promising areas of collaboration for the next phase after the Tokyo Metropolitan Resilience Project. We will be convening, perhaps virtually, a meeting focused specifically on the subject of the next phase of this collaboration. We will work with our Japanese colleagues to organize that meeting and the format and also agenda that will serve the purpose of identifying those next areas of collaboration. The schedule of the next meeting and format, we have several here. Before I go into that, are there any objections with the resolution number 3? Thank you, we'll consider it accepted. The number 4 is the schedule of the next meeting at format. We have several, but I think this one specifically is related to the Tokyo Metropolitan Resilience Project test number 4. We have typically tried to, as we did today, convene that meeting during an occasion that coincides with the test from the Tokyo Metropolitan Resilience Project. We envision that the format could be similar to this test, to this meeting, with updates on the ongoing collaboration, perhaps additional information on test number 4. The format itself, we go typically when the time has permitted and the conditions to Japan, to Kobe, to witness the test in person. If that is possible, if that is available to us at that time, which typically is towards the end of the year, this would be 2021, we would like to do so again. We put this resolution before you again for objection or if there's any. So we will then continue in touch with regards to the schedule for the next meeting under this collaboration. And finally, identifying funding possibilities for research, collaboration, and researcher exchanges. I think it's been made clear that under the test number 4, the format for those, but they might be refined later on. You heard from, for the US researchers, you heard from NSF how and what types of funding sources and modes might be available for you to explore, to collaborate with our Japanese colleagues during test number 4. We will bring this item also at the meeting of next steps as part of the agenda. It's always good to identify that before going into it. So that would be our 5th resolution, which is we will work together to continue finding ways to collaborate. Are there any objections? So with this, then 5 resolutions, we have, I believe, reached the end of our meeting of this closing session with the remarks from Dr. Kajiwara and Dr. Tabata. And I would like to open the floor for NSF if they would like to offer some closing remarks. Joy, if you are still with us here.
Thank you, Julio. Again, I just want to add my thank you to Dr. Fukada from Max, Dr. Yamazaki Hondo from NID, Dr. Kajiwara from NID, and Dr. Ramirez from Purdue for organizing this meeting. I think it was great to hear all the progress that's been made and all the joint collaborations and on the research projects. And it was exciting to see the test. And you know, NSF has been supporting this collaboration for about 15 years, and we're interested in seeing this collaboration continue. We think the seismic design is such an important topic for both countries. So to continue this collaboration, I think it's very important. And, I just want to remind the U.S. side that, the core research program, Engineering for Civil Infrastructure, has no deadlines. So, if you're thinking about test number 4, okay, please, submit proposal once you have your plans firmed up, because there's an opportunity for funding. So again, it was great to see everybody at this meeting, and I'll turn the meeting back over to you, Julio.
Thank you, Joy, and thank you everyone for joining us through the various time zones and countries. And I would like to give everybody that participated a virtual hand for a great job, and wishing you a wonderful end of year and holidays wherever you are, and good health. So with this, Dr. Tabata, Dr. Pauschke, and Dr. Kajiwara and Nishitani, we close the meeting officially. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
And the success of the meeting.
Bye,
Have a
Risuko.
great evening and sleep well.
Thank you.
This is a great